Yeah, let's put it. Yeah, yeah. Sure. You like your shoes? Thank you. Very comfy.
You're a lucky guy then.
She just like, I need it.
I just landed.
Yeah.
I'm Thursday.
Got it home.
Yep, we're ready.
Good evening. I call to order the Board of Education meeting for Prospect Heights School District 23 for May 9th, 2024 at 7:05 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Botwinski. Here. Mr. Gordanis.
Present.
Dr. Long.
Here.
Mrs. McClaney. Here. Mr. Nordmark.
Made it.
Mrs. Peters.
Present.
Mr. Novak.
Here. All right. Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, our Pledge of Allegiance tonight is going to be led by a variety of students from MacArthur. We are celebrating MacArthur tonight as they share their school improvement plan. So if we could have the students come on forward for us up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, thank you. And all you have to do is say "I," and everyone will follow.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, and if you would just stay right where you're at, just so that we can learn a little bit about you and which of the organizations you represent. We have our art show and orchestra concert going on tonight, kind of an art and music night. So I think some of our invitees are actually still performing. And then we have other representatives from the VIM department here, which you introduce yourself and tell us what you're a part of, what groups you're a part of.
My name is Adrian Lagos, and I'm here because I made LMA
For band, you made the.
play saxophone.
All right, awesome.
Nice.
I'm Lily McClaney, and I'm here because I went to the Illinois Association Day.
McClaney.
Illinois Association Day down in Springfield.
When were you guys there?
Yesterday.
Go ahead.
I'm Vitika, and I'm here because I was part of today, which is the art and music.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm Maggie Verdanis, and I'm here because I'm a part of the group that went to Springfield.
All these familiar last names.
I know.
Goodness.
So let's talk about music first. Tell us what ILGMA is. I can't remember what it exactly stands for. And it's probably not ILGMA. It's probably something else.
I don't.
But it's like an Illinois band contest. Is that from solo and ensemble?
Yeah, well, no. You have to audition for it,
Right.
mainly in the summer, but you have to actually turn in the auditions during the school year. And then at the start of the school year, there's like one huge day where it's like a huge rehearsal day, and by the end of the day, you have a concert.
You perform with kids from schools from all over.
Cool.
And how many from MacArthur were represented? Do you know? Were you by yourself, or
2.
there were 2 of you? All right. And you play saxophone. Right. How long have you been doing that?
3 years now.
All right.
And then you played last night, so you played the jazz band and the regular concert band, right? And then what awards did you get last night for the end of the year?
I got the Louis Armstrong Award.
What was that for?
Jazz band.
Okay.
Yatika, how about you? Which groups do you perform with?
I'm in band, and I was in stuff. Yeah, I'm in band.
Band, and tonight you were also participating in the art.
Art show, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about band first. How long have you been doing that?
Ever since 4th grade.
Okay, and what instrument do you play?
The flute.
It's really heavy to carry around.
Yeah.
And then how about for art? What was that all about? How did you get involved in that?
Miss Keon chose 3 of my artworks, and 2 of them were at the library art show too.
Back in March when we did Art Youth Art Month.
Yeah.
And then tonight it's on display
In the little theater.
in the little theater. So we will have to take a look at all of your artwork. Well, thank you both for being here. Appreciate that. And we had two people who were not only down in Springfield, but like they talked about you. Kind of a big deal because they talked about you at the House of Representatives today. Tell us about that. How did that happen?
Oh,
Hopefully for a good reason.
So, one of the state senators who represents our district came and she visited us. She talked to about our project with us. She talked about our school, and like suddenly she was like I'd like to mention yours, like suggest you on the floor, and we said yes. So and after we were done cleaning up, we went and we watched for maybe like 20 minutes and heard them say our names, talked a little bit
about what you did while you were down there. That's Senator Tracy Katz-Mule.
Yes.
Okay. And Lily, what were you down there for? Just
So we read this novel study, and and the main character, Sal, was visiting Mount Rushmore, and she was looking at all the people, and she thought, well, this doesn't represent America as a country. And so we were thinking about it, and we were like, well, maybe we should come up with 4 people that we think represent Mount Rushmore. And so we came together as a class and voted on 4 people that we think should be on there, and then we started working with AI to try to put their faces on it.
cool. Even AI generated images of whoever your class selected as before, and that's what's on the boards here. Did you two come up with this on your own? Like you were just chatting on the phone, like, hey, you know what'd be fun? Or how did it come to be?
I think it was
our teachers.
Yeah, I think
Your
it was
teachers?
Yeah.
Oh, so we want to give a shout out to Miss Tracus, Miss Robertson, and Miss Brockway as well from MacArthur. And of course,
You know, you 3 should come up and just talk about how the origin of this real quickly and how we all got invited to this.
yeah, Dina, come on up, will you?
Come on, guys.
You don't mind being put on the spot.
So, I love it.
Thanks, Brian.
In the book, the main character is part Native American, and she's on this road trip with her grandparents. And her grandpa really wanted to see Mount Rushmore. It was like a thing, and so she was like, okay, but she knew that it was land that was supposed to be for Native Americans. She was kind of like, well, we should just give it back to them. Like, these people are not, they're not even representative of the people where this land belongs on. And so we started talking about that, and if we could change Mount Rushmore and come up with a newer one, who do we think would be best to represent what America is today? We did a little research on why the sculptor chose the 4 faces for the original Mount Rushmore, and then the kids all researched their own, came up with their own top 4 based on doing whatever independent research they want. And they could choose, the only limitation we gave them was it had to be American. So we had ranging from athletes to musicians to, we said it didn't have to be a president, but it could. And then we as a class debated, and we had to narrow it down to 4 from the whole class. And so a lot of them had universal, almost every class, they were like, yes, Martin Luther King Jr., 100% yes. But then we got very specific, and kids were like, no, I'm fighting for this person. Or in one class, it was like they wanted to say Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and they were like, we don't need 2 athletes. Like they started to really think and kind of fight for who they thought was the best candidate. And so then each class had to narrow it down and really work to convince each other that this one is the best one. And it took a couple days of talking and working, and then we voted, and then we came up with the final 4, and then we started trying to figure out if we could actually create one on AI, and they were significantly better at that than we were.
Yeah.
Wording, because it's all about the language of how you do it, and so it was a lot of trial and error on their part, but they were really, really great at it. And I reached out to a couple graphic designers to see if I could pay someone to make one as a surprise, and they were like, nope. It's really hard to replicate a human, a real person's face on AI. And I was sending them screenshots, and they were like, these are actually really good for 6th graders.
Right.
So we just kind of let them keep going. The ones on the top of there are the top, those were the closest we came up with. And you can still see there's some like mistakes, but a lot of it was just trial and error. But we wanted to show that like we made we had to keep kind of going through and changing our words around to come up with a plan.
So was it Kobe or Jordan?
Kobe Bryant ended up getting on there actually, not Michael Jordan. In every group, Martin Luther King Jr., Walt Disney made it. It was like a very interesting group of people that they thought deserved it.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
And then what was the program today in Springfield?
I think Dina covered a lot of how they went through the process. So in February, the three of us were at IdeaCon, and that is a big professional development opportunity. And while we were there, we saw advertisement for Advocacy Day, and really, it started out years ago as a way to advocate for the need for technology in schools, and obviously technology is everywhere now, and so they've really moved into more of how can we use technology but still enhance curriculum. And so we were sitting at the table and they were talking about this unit, and I went, you guys, this would be perfect for Advocacy Day.
Mm-hmm.
How could you continue to work through it? And together they came up with this incredible unit, and Dina submitted an application, filled out everything kind of saying what they were doing, and it needs to be noted that they were one of 30 in the state that were chosen to be there today, so thank
you. Betsy Yeager used to take a group of students down, and before Betsy did it, it was Patty Walsh would take students. So we've had a long history, and we're once again really well represented at the Capitol. So thank you all very much for sharing your talents. So we have some more music folks who joined us post-concert. The applause finally died down and you were able to join us. Just introduce yourselves to us and tell us what instrument you play and why you're here, or why you think you're here.
Hi, I'm Eva. I play the bass. That's the really big instrument.
Yeah.
And I'm here because I was one of the 4 kids in the group chosen to go down to the Capitol.
All right.
Hi, I'm Camilla. I play the violin, and I'm not really sure why I was invited.
Honesty is wonderful.
Hi, I'm Erica, and I play the violin, and I was here because I was one of the 4 chosen.
Okay, so you were downstate as well. Camille, I think you were probably, did you do something
Wheel of Names.
with what?
Wheel of Names.
Wheel of Names, yeah. Did you do something with state orchestra, or did you win the competition? Are you in the art?
Did you win one of the things for one of the things?
That's why you're here! Oh, thank goodness. Well, we are very glad that you're all here. Thank you so much for representing District 23 and MacArthur so well. We do have certificates for you, so that'll explain why you're here for sure. And, Mr. Alms, where would you like to stage a quick photo? Oh. Man, scared the heck out of me. Sidled up behind me.
Well, I approached you quietly for that reason. It'd be awesome to get in front of this mural.
Yeah, let's do that. If you guys don't mind coming over here, I think we'll get out of the way. And parents, if you'd like a quick photo, you're welcome to come on up as well. Come right up the middle.
All right, let's come this way. I'll have you right here. Sure. Keep coming. It seems like an easy process. It's not for everybody. Like, it's not really, there was no red light. Right, I'm going to get a picture right here. It's real life. Okay, you guys can start looking my way. Hold on. And now, but the count of 3 say more homework. 1, 2, 3.
No more homework.
Like usual suspects right now.
Sorry, did you get a picture?
Lots more homework.
No,
How are you?
It's a performance.
Hey, how are you?
Alright, I got mine.
What amazing moments.
Dr. A, I got my pictures.
All right,
Are we all good?
terrific. Parents, any others?
Alright. Keep up the good work, guys. Thank you.
Thanks much. Yes?
At each
Oh,
regular.
no. Oh, yeah, sorry. Pledge of allegiance. Sorry, go ahead. Yes, please.
At each regular and special open meeting, members of the public and district employees may comment on or ask questions of the Board of Education. The question is, if you would like to address the board, please complete the pink form over there and give it to Miss O'Donnell over there. Our recording stopped. Would anyone like to Hearing none. Let's move on to communication.
Dr. Nystrom, are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
Hi, Lily.
Bye, Lily.
Bye, Lily. Bye, Maggie.
Hi, Lily.
Maggie.
Like, I can't stand behind here.
No, come right in front.
Yeah, Bob.
All right, so tonight we're here at MacArthur for the fourth and final of our school visits to receive the state of the school improvement presentation. And Dr. Nystrom, Mr. Caper, and some of the representatives from MacArthur's team are here tonight to share their presentation.
Yes, thanks. Oh, I could really use that.
Finish it if you want.
I'll get a free birthday one coming someday. Well, thanks for having us here. I have a great team here to help with. We lost some of them.
We got it.
We still have a great, awesome.
We got this.
Mike Caper, Kelly Brockway, Athena Calaris, and then helping us with this was, when I was left, I forgot. Laura and Dina. Yes. And Stephanie Ritter as well. So we have a lot of great things. We'll try and keep it short. I think one of the things being the last school to go is it builds, so we'll try and keep it short because I know there could be some discussion items later here. But we really use the puzzle as kind of our theme for everything this year in the building and trying to find the fit. One of the things that middle school kids often try to do is find a way to fit in and not be noticed in things, but we have lots of different clubs and activities that take advantage of those unique shapes that people have. And when you bring those unique shapes together, it creates nice mosaics and pictures and all sorts of things. You could have a Star Wars puzzle, you could have all sorts of different puzzles. So one of the things we did is we went over our building goals at the beginning of the year, and everyone got a blank or a puzzle piece. They signed their name on the back if they were all in for that. And then we, at our first staff meeting, put it all together, and people were wondering what it was. Well, it was a picture of MacArthur. So I mean, cool. After a few minutes, they kind of figured it out. But when you have the blue space in the sky, you're wondering where you fit into this. So that was kind of our theme, and how do we fit all of our different departments, our grade levels, our BIM program, our athletics. How does that create that whole child wraparound services, especially with MTSS? So at MacArthur, we empower all learners to thrive. You know, we're the middle part of, we're the end of the D23 experience, but we feed them right into the high school experience, and so we have a lot of opportunities for the kids to gain some experiences like you just saw earlier today. And then we get to find out the great things that they do when they go off to the 214 schools and really make an impact on some bigger places. Last year in the fall, because from last year. We were awarded the exemplary designation. We're really excited for that. That makes us in the top 10% of all middle schools in the state of Illinois.
Yes.
Nice job.
We had great growth last year. Our growth so far this fall and winter is green, but our growth last year in fall and winter was green, and then they made a big spring jump, and I haven't looked at the spring report because I've been busy today. But I heard individual high scores for a lot of people to celebrate that. So we're hoping that that continues in that pathway for that designation. But really just the kids are experiencing and growing and getting a little bit better each day. So we revised this over the last year. It's the 4 components within our strategic plan. We have just a couple quick highlights of each of those domains. Go ahead. As they break out into those categories, go ahead. So now that you reordered them, am I any of these?
No, we can go here for you. Yes. Speaking on student success, all 3 of us will kind of touch on one point, and it will begin with Ms. Brockway talking about our social studies curriculum.
Yeah, so this year we adopted McGraw-Hill, which is a part of StudySync, which we had adopted the previous year for ELA. Teachers chose McGraw-Hill to complement that curriculum, and that has been a very smooth process for the most part, incorporating a lot of inquiry and projects and investigations that have come to life this year. So it's been a good, smooth transition for all teachers, which is nice.
On a similar curriculum investigation standpoint, we really looked into science this year. We had so many meetings and vendors come on in and really going through and exploring what the best and most preferred science curriculum would be. We ended up going through and went for readoption of STEM scopes with a little bit more updated, as you know from last month's board meeting. I'm really excited to see and get our hands on that and get to see how we go through and implement that in the classrooms.
So our MTSS, right?
Yes.
We have 3 different tiers, so I'm going to talk about the fun tier. It is. Tier 1, where pretty much most of our kids hang out in. So we're part of the Pride Committee, where we do celebrations and assemblies to like celebrate kids and celebrate kids' success and doing what they should be doing in school. We're currently planning our last assembly, which will be on 15th, which is Wednesday. So that'll be the student-led assembly, where teachers kind of compete against teachers for a prize.
Tier 2 is when our students need a little bit of extra support, a little bit more individualized. Mr. Michael Caper was instrumental this year in helping us with our structures and processes and procedures. With a little bit of poking and prodding and shoving from my end, he really probably ripped the Band-Aid off faster than he would have liked to, but we were ready for it, and the staff has responded wonderfully to it, so have the students. So we continue to refine and work on ways to support students based on their needs at the Tier 2 level.
And that's all done with collaboration with district, of course, and really building to our state framework and school behavior plan. But really going through and using data-driven approach to identify those heavier hitters as we go through Tier 2 and Tier 3, and leveraging in interventions to really help support them as a whole child.
Collaborative site visit. So coming out of the classroom was quite the experience for myself moving into the coaching role, and it was an eye-opening experience to see all the amazing things that I never knew were happening outside of my wonderful kingdom in my classroom. And so working with Dr. Nystrom, a big focus was really to get teachers to see each other teaching. And so this year we've had a ton of success with peer observations. This one went over to Hershey to experience the Spanish high school classroom and get some ideas from those teachers. We had our art teacher who's solo here in a silo, asked to collaborate with someone. We went over to 57 and she got to see that teacher teach and then do some collaboration experiences with them. And then we had District 70 in Libertyville reach out to us because they were it's their first year implementing StudySync. They were looking for a collaborative partner. We formed a great partnership with them. They came over to us spent a day heading over to them. While they were here visiting, they saw our sale program and went, we're trying to work on that too. Can we come and learn from you? So they came back just last week and got to experience all of our sale classrooms. So that's been a really great partnership there. Really, even in the schools as well, for our instructional rounds, we moved to teachers seeing each other teach. And so 3 times this year, they've all been in each other's classrooms. And we talked about the first time there was a lot of hesitation and fear. It's their personal space, and it's hard to have other people come in. And this last time we did it in April, I had 2 teachers come and find me and go, no one's come in my classroom yet. Can you come and see me? I want to be seen now. And so we really grew in our comfort level of being able to see each other teach and gained so many ideas from the experience. That's been huge.
For family and community partnerships, we highlighted 3 of the many things that we're doing throughout the school year. The first one we highlighted was mock interviews, and I did not want to miss anyone. So it's part of our 8th grade FACS curriculum. And some of the different community partners that Ms. Alvaro definitely wanted to be mentioned was our 214 feeder high schools. Hersey, Wheeling, some of their leaders coming over, facilitating and interviewing some of our students, having that hands-on experience of here's what an interview looks, sounds, and feels like, here's some questions you might be asked, and actually evaluating and giving some good feedback throughout that. Other agencies is Prospect Heights Public Works, members from the district, admin, and just, I believe fire and police department came over. So a lot of community members coming in, getting to meet our 8th graders, and really help them hone in on those interviewing skills that they will be using in a year or 2, as wild as that is to think about for them. Safety Week, we had police and fire department come in again, and they actually evaluated some of our students' projects, as our students really spearhead that whole week of not only going through drills, but creating videos, posters, pamphlets to really help advocate for school safety.
I'm kind of excited to see kind of how AI might affect some of the, they've gotten a little more creative and techy as we've done this over the couple of years, so
yeah,
we'll see.
One big part that came out of it was consistent language with 214, so that the police and fire departments understood what a secure and teach, a shelter in place, evacuation, and an active threat, compared to one building having a soft lockdown, the other having a hard lockdown, the other one have fire drill or tornado. So really coming up with that concise language and consistent language to help support their response to our need in that moment. And the last one highlighted here is Linked Together. And while there's a couple things on there, they've really been instrumental in helping support our youth and our families in understanding drug and alcohol use. And part of that is the teen mock bedroom, where they come during parent-teacher conference, set up a bedroom, and show really innovative ways that youth might be hiding some of these substances from an educational standpoint. Yeah, it's always unique to talk to parents and be like, oh, that isn't a flash drive, and wait, flashlights open like that, and they put that in there? So really getting to equip some of the families with here's what you should be kind of looking out for to help support your youth. And recently we just had our drug take back, so as you came in today, you might have seen some of those posters and signs up in the lawn to introduce that.
Okay, facilities and financial planning. I like the financial planning because let's just do it. Student Senate this year was really gun-ho about creating a student lounge. And even though they wanted an enclosed area, kind of talked to them about, well, can't have you in an enclosed area, there needs to be some sort of supervision. So we decided that the area right outside of the theater was the best place that we can create something. So we got a quote, and I telling the kids this could be like a couple of years in the making, and I had a lot of gun-ho kids that decided, no, we're gonna get this done this year. So they reached out to the community members. I think they've raised, well, I think PTO gave us the last bit of money, but they raised on their own about $10,000 through dances and other events. and reaching out and going out to the community and talking to them. The student design murals, we have our main lobby welcome mural, and in the cafeteria we have those tiles that was helped by 214, correct? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, so the 214 was through our partnerships with the Wildstang rental component over the last couple of years, and then so the kids, Amy was great in setting
Yes,
up
thank you, Amy.
when our furniture reps came to really get the input from the kids and pick the style of seating and the fabrics and really the layout and everything else, and it went through a couple of iterations, much like our Mount Rushmore examples. So that's on order, and it should be here in the next couple of weeks or so, but I mean, the kids had their hands in it from the very beginning. They sketched it out on a piece of paper, we sent it over there, and then they kind of started to work on some ideas and things like that. So really, I think we're trying to empower the kids in being adults while still having a kid's body. And so those are some different examples of
And they got
how
plans
they've
for
had
next year.
they do. Any group of kids around Athena always has plans. And so when we put our district's mission and the vision, we live in that giant collage of where kids are. And some of our kids are strong academically, some of them are strong musically, or some are struggling in those things. So we're always trying to find how they all fit the pieces together. But these two statements really drive our strategic plan and drive our work here at MacArthur. And before we leave, we just have a couple more images of just our kids having a good time and smiling, because when you put all the pieces together, happiness. So, first day of school, 6th grade. Kids in November wrote appreciation notes to staff members across the building. First day of school, 8th grade. Nirvana's always good. Never goes old. One of our staff meetings, and the teachers were talking about this is their goal setting meeting, or no,
this is
the
data
one.
reflection.
So
This
the
was
data
getting
reflection.
Our teachers involved who didn't have access to iPad last week.
Correct. Stand Appreciation Day.
It's a big day.
It's your partner stand day. It's around Valentine's Day. So we had to bling up something. Veterans Day, all of our Student Senate kids that were helping out with the breakfast and then the ceremony in itself. Stacking dice on the spoon and a friendly student competition to kick off our PRIDE acronym of prepared, respect, integrity, determined, and engaged.
Fun at lunch.
7th graders at lunch. Rocky Run for our state-bound wrestling kids. I put this one in here because I really we don't always get a picture of our parents smiling all the time, but that is just one of the best parts of, that other aspect of our D23 community, those parents. Some kids going back to the elementaries to drum up some business for St. Baldrick's and hair extensions and all those other components that we were doing in Student Senate for that. New student breakfast, so we have a breakfast every year that the Student Senate puts together to welcome all of our families that are new to the district. And so they wanted a funny picture after the last board meeting they were with you guys, so apparently that's a thing. Our Polar Plunge, which partnered up with Keller Middle School in a challenge and raised about $40,000 for Special Olympics. And together it comes together as school pride in D23. So thanks for making it happen.
Yep.
So I'm curious, did anyone get the detention for running in the hallways?
Not then.
Not that time.
Some of them were probably encouraged because they might have been close to not making weight. In that group, there's always a wonder. They're trying to do it early, so they got an early way in.
Any other questions or comments from the MacArthur
I just
team?
have a comment. I think it's any school board. It's easy to focus on test scores and how are the kids in that respect. But I think, when my son was here and, still, I think that it's all the other things. I mean, we do well in that, but it's all the other things that kind of culminate here that make a difference for these students. I think I'm impressed when we have students of any grade come before us and they speak with confidence and intelligence, and I don't know that happens everywhere, but those are the things that are hard to quantify, but I think they're appreciated just as much. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think that's great. Thank you so much for coming and doing that.
I obviously missed the memo about the shirt.
I've been wearing it all day.
That's okay.
Well, we're going to keep the MacArthur love flowing for one more special announcement. We have a special recognition for one of our MacArthur teachers, Miss Stephanie O'Connor. If you would come up, please. I know how much you love being the center of attention. Each year, the state of Illinois, Illinois State Board of Education receives applications for Teacher of the Year. Obviously, they can pick one middle school, one high school, one elementary, and all the rest of amazing educators across the state then who are not selected for that are entered into a those who excel screening process. And so all those applications are screened, and out of that they selected 84 teachers across the state of Illinois. Don't quote me on the number, it's 84, 54. Anyway, we're not surprised that Miss O'Connor was one who was selected for that, but we are extremely proud of her and thank her for all that she does as someone who received the Award of Special Recognition from the Illinois State Board of Education. And can you just share a little bit about the process? I know that you know who nominated you now, right? Or
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was still a secret.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Kelly nominated me. We've been working a few years now on, through conversations with my students in the past on hurtful and harmful language directed at them. I'm like, I need to look outside of my own classroom because I know my kids might not say certain stuff in front of me because they know how I'm going to react, but I want to extend that. So Learning for Justice is an organization. They host a Speak Up webinar, and I thought it was so adaptable, so I took the webinar in February, and then working with Hannah Sutter and Kelly Brockway, we implemented an advisory as a trial run. We recorded 8th graders that year who were really passionate about that, like being able to speak up and say, I wish someone would have. And I've been extending it, and through working with Kelly now, probably on 3 years on this, she nominated me in the fall, and I was really honored for that and very appreciative. So carried out through the process. It's like a job application. It's pretty funny. But it made me update my resume, so that was good too. Just seeing all the work that has been done. This is my 9th year, so humbling to see all that. I also want to give a shout out to Laura Robertson for that. She was my mentor teacher when I started working here, and giving me that freedom to really what do you see the need in, and being able to give me that space to be creative and not have to hold back. So I want to give her a special shout out too, in addition to Kelly.
I just want to say the email came through and it immediately spoke to who's an educator that you might know that really stands for equity and justice and is always working to empower students. And I immediately went, Stephanie O'Connor.
Yep.
And I immediately signed her up, and I was like, we'll just see what happens. And yeah, she ended up calling me and being like, I got this thing. I need to have a resume. It's a very intense process, but she's far too humble. She does so much for her students. Fully deserves it.
Yep, absolutely. So we do have a little thank you and recognition for you as well.
I get it. Like she's like, yeah. Bravo. Thank you. I thought I missed that. I didn't email it.
And that's the first those who excel winner we've had in the district in my tenure there. All right, next, speaking of appreciating our teachers, this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. We expand that to Educator Appreciation Week and appreciate everything our staff does to support our kids and their growth, as well as connect with families and our community at large. This week we've been very fortunate and appreciate the support and love shown by our PTO. They've been very generous in providing some snacks. Each of the buildings has done something for their staff as well. And tomorrow, the board and admin team will be providing a luncheon tomorrow during our School Improvement Day to recognize our teachers. So you're welcome to join us between 11 and 1 for grilling and lunch. And board, you're also invited to the Teacher Retirement and Recognition event on Monday, May the 20th. This year, our retirees, Mary Marowitz, Gail Rolifson, Carolyn Collins, Lee Wright, Juan Chavez Munoz, and Pam Garceau will be honored, so we'll be recognizing them. We also give our awards of recognition for 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and 35 years of service in the district. So those are, that's an exciting year-end culmination for us. On Friday, May the 24th, we will have our 8th grade promotion ceremony at Hersey High School at 7 p.m. Of course, board are welcome to attend and participate in that as well. And lastly, the III registration will open in June the 3rd. Michelle will send a Google form around to see who's interested and get our registration information. There is a scholarship for members of IASB, which we all are. If individuals are interested in applying for that, it's a free conference registration. We can forward you information on that if you'd like as well. And those are our communication items.
Awesome. All right. Moving on to committee reports. It looks like I get number 1. We met for buildings and sites on the 30th. Was it really that long ago? I feel like it was just a couple days ago. Brief meeting, but good. We talked about looking to start getting windows and doors underway. Planning to start at Grodzki late July, starting end of May. Then schools will start. The schools will start as soon as kids are up. I don't know why I put late July. I'm assuming
we'll be wrapped up at Grodzki by end of July. Yeah.
Going to late July. And then we talked about just some simple landscape replacement and painting work that needed to be done, just general maintenance. Kind of talked about a scissor lift that needed to be replaced. I'm sure that was a finance item as well. I'm sure that was not a finance item. It was using funds already allocated. Then see the one time I
you went off script. You went off script there. Yeah, that's all right.
It's usually yes, Kevin. We discussed that too. Service renewal for the Honeywell 1-year service renewal, where we showed some savings. That was kind of nice. But I think that better was that the team communicated that Honeywell seems to be a lot more attentive than they had been in the past. So service is a bit better than it has been, which is positive. And then we talked about finalizing Polish school agreements, aligning with neighboring groups, and expect an increase in fees. I don't know if that's I think that covers it. Did I miss anything? Alright, that's it. Moving on to finance. I swear, if you say we talked about a scissor lift.
Not saying.
Everything
Just-
else, everything
just-
else
I
did
will
not
say
about
that,
that,
I'll
not
just-
that.
Right, started off that, we also discussed the Honeywell service renewal and some savings that we plan on voting on that this evening. We also discussed older school rentals and just sort of examining what areas they're truly using versus what the contract kind of says they should be using. So, let's see, we did our usual monthly review of how our finances are looking. We reviewed the NSSEO budget, briefly discussed it, and we're going to be voting on that this evening. The annual bill payment resolution we also discussed, so we'll be voting on that this evening. The workman's comp insurance pool was discussed, and we'll be voting on that later this evening too. And then finally, we just discussed our food service RFP, and it looks like we might be going out alone on that this time around. So that was pretty much what we did.
No voting items. There's a bunch of voting items.
Yeah, got a lot to vote on later.
It looks like Ryan, you have NSSEO.
Yes, so I did attend the NSSEO meeting last week. So the NSSEO Shining Stars for this month were 4 students from Kirk. Right, they're all from 211 and 214. And like the real focus on that was about, and we'll talk about in the next couple of minutes, a lot of the focus of this whole meeting was about getting kids out of the schools and into the community and doing more work. And so that these 4 kids had all been working at different partners, Eurofresh, eWorks that were working on assembling computers, and all 4 of these kids had really done. They kind of these measurements of how independent they are from when they start to where they were, right? So like a lot of this, starting at like 60% up to 95% independence, and so it was really just success stories about these kids like moving from the classroom into kind of more real world work life situations. They also celebrated retirees. They celebrated 11 retirees with a combined 282 years of experience from NSSEO. And then they also talked the Shooting Stars, which is about kind of graduates, right? And which is after Shining Stars. They talked about 2 siblings, Michael and Jack, who really active participants in the NWSRA Pursuit Adult Day Program, and then who also kind of have their own business creating and selling dog toys.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then just kind of back to the Shining Star thing. So every month they give kind of this continuous improvement presentation, and this one was about Kirk and about this community-based instruction and how they have they have 49 partners, right? And there's 16 different work sites and 15 day programs, and then their real focus this year has been, I think it was to really get two Kirk classrooms really active in this community-based instruction, and then to keep building this out moving forward to really make the later years in Kirk more community focused and less classroom focused. What else? So then they are building their strategic plan, which they have not had since the 90s, and so they have did preliminary interviews with 4 different potential vendors that will help them build that. And so they have chosen 2 vendors, Catalyst and then Hazard Young, that will present in June to the board, and then the board will then make a decision about who will help them build that for the first time in quite a while. They walk through, kind of a lot of the grants that the district has received in the last year, and I think just at the end of that, they really talked about how they've received $5.5 million in grants since they created kind of this dedicated, grant writing and fundraising position in the district a few years ago.
Obviously worked ahead of time.
Yeah, I think that they're really proud of that and about the progress they made, and just like an observation, a lot of kind of local type, so there's a grant from Rivers Casino, from the Prospect Chamber of Commerce, from the Palatine Rotary Club, from the Arlington Heights Rotary Club, they had gotten a pretty significant COPS grant, so it's definitely a blend of like local contributions and then kind of the larger like federal type grants. They made some changes to an Archon HVAC project at Kirk. I think that they're going to get those changes made to then kind of move forward with that project. They had created a nominating committee that I wanted to volunteer Carol for. You're not.
Temptation.
But that committee might nominate you for something since you're not part of the committee. So, and then after, and there's some topics in closed session. But then after that, they kind of voted to approve, the raises for non-admin, and then also a memorandum of understanding for some other personnel for kind of one-off type increases, and that was it. Oh.
I could have sworn that we had discussed at one point a strategic plan we put together. I guess not. Somehow I had in my head that we had discussed.
I feel like they've had that capital.
They've been focusing on the continuous improvement plan. That's kind of in the focus, and there really hasn't been a strategic plan. So there are things that are kind of falling through the cracks, I think, because of it.
Right.
So there's been a process for, I don't know, probably most of this year to determine, what kind of organization do they want to use to create this thing, and what the focus should be.
It's good that they're doing it.
Yes, it's very good.
It's
And thank you for going to.
Absolutely.
I wasn't able to go.
Thanks.
No, I like to. I like to go to those meetings. That's a good group. That board does.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Long, take it away with policy.
This is going to be a topic later in the agenda, so I don't know if it's better to go over blow by blow now or later, but most of the updates are just review updates. There is a new policy related to harassment, a more broad term definition that causes a domino of a bunch of other policies, but really it's just to reflect the language of the new harassment language that's in there. Also, there's just a good reminder about board communications and that all those can be requested and all that. So just a good reminder on that topic. I asked a ton of questions, being the new guy still, about how we implement some of these policies, but Don was very helpful on providing some insight to that. But otherwise, nothing that I thought was out of the ordinary.
It's next to first reading.
Yeah, first read.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then moving on, Ms. McClure. Community relations.
Yeah, so there are a ton of events coming up that just an awareness for the community and what's going on. We're already starting in that push to the end of the year. I don't know about anybody else's kids, but we are counting the days. One's sad and one's happy. There are spring concerts that have already started.
Yep.
So I know last night was the band concert. Tonight's the music and arts night. Next Monday's the Sullivan Band concert with a guest performance from the jazz band to try to get some of that stuff. So lots of concerts coming up. That jazz band's fun to listen to. They do some great work. So May 10th is the teacher, tomorrow, that's tomorrow, right, May 10th? As we heard, the teacher appreciation lunch. May 17th, if you do not have something going on that day, is Young Athletes Day, and that is an event worth going to. It is so fun to see the kids at Eisenhower at the Young Athletes. There's a morning session and an afternoon session, so getting over there is really worth it if you can. May 20th is, as we heard, the retirement and recognition event for all of the people that are only in their 20s still, but are 35 years of teaching, but not a day. Isn't that crazy that we're all still in our 20s?
And just on that, what time is that one? Will that be
the 20th? 3 o'clock.
That'll be right
after school.
Yeah.
The 22nd is the 8th grade parade. So when they parade around with the great weather that will be that day, and the tours where the first graders get to come up and see Betsy Ross and start to get acclimated to that. That night is the Kona Ice, right? It says ice cream social, but it's Kona Ice. The PTO and the social to get the kids to celebrate the end of the year.
I'm sorry, what day is the Kona Ice?
The 22nd as well.
Okay, so that's after the parade?
That's after the parade. It's after school. It'll be 3:30 until
5:30 is what I have on my calendar.
Okay.
The 24th, which is Friday night, is the 8th grade promotion. The band is performing there as well, and then it's at Hersey this year, so that is always a good time.
choirs or chorus.
Chorus will be there
There's
as
no
well.
I in choir. It's an us in chorus.
Good job.
That's how I remember. And they are performing the national anthem.
There's no I. I just know the band is performing because I know it is messing up what time we're leaving
Friday
that
the
night.
24th?
Friday the 24th.
Wait, Friday the 24th is promotion.
Yeah.
The 30th. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm not there yet.
Sorry, you're right.
We were still on promotion.
You're on promotion.
Promotion. Friday the 24th, the band will be there. They're playing for the promotion. Friday the 24th, let Kevin know if you want to help.
Yeah, would you please?
May 28th, which is Tuesday, is the last day of school. Mark your calendars. Last day of school is Tuesday. Don't be surprised on Wednesday when your children don't have a place to go. Because it's not in District 23 on Wednesday. But then is that the 30th?
30th is the day at the
Is
Dogs.
it the Thursday night then?
Thursday night.
Thursday night, the 30th, is the day at the Dogs, which is an amazing time. If you've never gone to see the ketchup and the mustard play baseball, the choir,
That's where
the
the
chorus
is singing. Yeah.
the chorus is singing because there's no I in choir.
There is an I in choir, but there's no.
I don't understand
but there's
what this
us
was.
in chorus.
Got it.
We sing together.
Okay, so May 30th, Thursday night, is the day at the Dogs. We will be talking about the 4th of July parade. We need to circle around that, and anybody that wants to
When are we
come.
discussing?
The community relations will circle around about that and see if anybody has any interest in doing that. So let us know if you would like to. The Prospect Heights one
It's
is not.
usually the Saturday
Yeah.
prior.
Yeah.
I don't have the date yet.
Enrollment and registration is open. Enrollment and registration is open. Do that. Register once, but early.
Betsy Ross is in the lead again.
One more family.
Betsy Ross is
You
in the
only
lead.
need one more family,
Competition, man.
and you're done.
Yes.
No.
Wow.
Are you going to their house tonight?
Maybe.
Too late. I'd be like,
One family.
Oh, it was your house?
No.
It was your house.
I'm just thinking. She already went. So.
She's actually going to bring the computer over to you right now. Register now! That's amazing, Stephanie. One more family.
This is in a competition all by herself.
Always.
That's amazing. And then next year, staff introductions will be Olympic themed.
Olympic theme.
And carrying the torch for District 23.
So we'll start sending those out following tonight's approval of new hires.
That's everything. It's going to be an amazing summer. And then we're going to blink and it's
Yep.
going to be the next.
thank you.
See y'all at the Dogs game.
Oh. Consent agenda.
So we have the regular meeting and executive session meeting minutes from April the 11th. We have the minutes from our special meeting on April 27th, and then the personnel report.
We have no people absent for all three of those. So I think we can probably vote on the entire thing. Do we hear a motion to approve?
I will move to approve the minutes.
Second by Carol. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Butwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. Motion carries 7-3.
And before we move on, with that action, we're excited to welcome a number of our new employees. We've been busy recruiting and interviewing and making offers, and tonight Stephanie will introduce one of our newest
Hi.
family members in District 23.
We snatched her up the minute we saw her information. This is Erin Hoyer. She is our new 3rd grade teacher at Betsy Ross. The team is ecstatic to have her. She's coming from District 102. Yep. So we are, and she came with rave reviews, and her principal is sad to see her leave. And she's leaving because of her section closed. But as I said, we will take very good care of Erin. So we're excited to have you here in District 23.
Welcome.
I'm going to let her slide out so she can go to bed.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to have you.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. All right. Financial report.
Yeah. Everything was good. Not too much to look at. It was a great time of year. You have bills. And so I will move to approve the financial report as presented.
Second.
Is that you, Mike?
Correct.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Butwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yep.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. Motion carries 7. And moving on
Is it a
to
valid vote?
superintendent's report.
Thank you. Our first item tonight is really a discussion item for the board, so I will be very brief in the presentation that's in the packet that we will also post and make available for the community. Just again, as a refresher for all, we continue to follow our parallel paths toward reaching our goals. We have, as an organization, we need to be mindful of both our, Christian, you got that? Sorry, bud.
Yep.
I jumped right in. We have our short-term goals that we must address, utilizing current and available funding, and then we must also continue to vision and plan for the long term. So with additional funding or new funding, what might that look like? When we think about the vision that we have, oop, wrong one. Here you go. I'm on slide 3. Awesome. On the 27th, the board and the administrative team kind of met together to reaffirm the vision for the needs of the district in the short and long term. We know that our last referendum was not successful, and that tells us that we've not yet reached a point where we've matched the community's level of comfort or expectation with providing the needs and services and the enhancements that are part of the district's future, balanced by the demand that places on taxpayers. So we continue to wrestle with that and try to come to a level that will meet those, because we know that the programming, the safety, facility needs continue to be on our plate. We know that costs continue to escalate, and without additional funding, we've got limited options. And so our position in terms of being responsible stewards need to be mindful of what we can accomplish in the short term, but also plan for the long-term benefit of the district. So the 3 continued priorities that we discussed and reviewed are full-day kindergarten, with for all students as mandated by 2027. We want to continue to focus on our safety and security measures and be responsible stewards of the facilities by repairing and maintaining those facilities. We looked at the programming priorities. Dr. Sroka led us through kind of an overview of the special education needs and requirements of the district. We talked about the importance of early intervention and early childhood services. We talked about some different models that include a parent pay option as well as partnership with the ECDEC program to provide services to at-risk students, special education students, and typically performing students. The full-day kindergarten we briefly touched on as well. That mandate continues to be in place. We are still waiting for the task force report out in June. We expect to come out in June. We don't know exactly how that may or may not impact things, but full-day kindergarten remains an important ask of new families moving into the district and continues to be a need that's been identified by that group. We also discussed some of the specialized services, including services to bilingual students in our multilingual families. When we reviewed safety, we first took a minute to recognize and celebrate some of the enhancements that we have made with adding some of our prioritized security cameras to help us with monitoring at all 4 schools. We reviewed some of the existing safety priority items, including the Eisenhower parking lot, the repair of exterior doors, the long-term need for interior door and lock replacement, public address systems, and some of these other items, not the least of which being cybersecurity as an area for us to continue to need to bolster our preventative steps. And when we looked at facilities, again, we recognize that there are a number of challenges across the district. We've been addressing and sort of in the moment repairing and fixing things, so we're not in a dilapidated, broken down sort of status, but we know that that's not a long-term solution. Particularly at Eisenhower, a big part of the investigation that went into the referendum in the past few years has been the need for additional space at Eisenhower, both to accommodate for new programming, but also to support and alleviate some of the overcrowding and the overcapacity that we currently have at Eisenhower. Again, the parking lot replacement is a significant piece. We know that across the district there continue to be needs, parking lot replacements, paving are on our 10-year facilities plan, restroom upgrades, roof and flooring, those types of items remain on our 10-year facility plan, and network cabling is a project that we need to stay in tune with in the short and long term so that our network connectivity remains strong, as we all experience what happens when the ICN is cut and you drop internet for the day. It was quite a challenge. When we think about the factors that are go into this conversation, obviously first and foremost, we have our class size guidelines. We know that we've enjoyed and seen the benefits of class sizes that allow us to really build strong relationships and connections with kids, delivering quality instruction. That's a key component. Obviously space is tied in with that, as well as the ongoing contribution toward the required services and programs, professional development, curriculum, and materials are all elements that we keep in mind as we think about the long-term impact on instruction. When we look at the factors that impact our programming, we start with the needs of our students, the needs and desires of the community. You have this balance of reputation for which the district has become really well known. We're extremely proud of a number of our specialty programs and services, including our VIM and athletic programs, Lego robotics, SAIL programs, extended day program, all those types of things. as well as a match now for what our expectations for services in schools in the 21st century. We quickly reviewed the options to consider regarding available facilities and spaces. Everything from buying and building something brand new to continuing to invest in our current facilities, potential lease and build, looking at other short-term solutions, and looking at collaborations with other municipal or educational partners. When we talked about the funding, our options here are to utilize our existing fund balances by saving funds up over time, identifying opportunities for funding by making reductions in programs is an option, using our current existing borrowing capacity, our DSEB or debt service extension base, is an opportunity that we take advantage of when those are available. And of course, passage of a successful referendum would be an option in terms of providing additional funding for the district. So the opportunity that we had when we looked at both short and long-term paths leads us to our short-term actions for the 24-25 school year. Included in our strategic plan will be the work being done this summer at our at Betsy Ross and Sullivan and Grodsky buildings, the needed repair, replacement of siding, windows, and doors to maintain our building envelope, provide a little bit more energy efficiency as well as improving the aesthetic. We will be conducting a multilingual learner program audit this coming school year to identify the long-term needs of our English learners. We're investigating the math curriculum with the goal of bringing a recommendation to the board in March of next year for either a readoption or a new component. Our community engagement events and communications plan implementation remain at the forefront in terms of our parent and community partnership. And from a security standpoint, we will be implementing phase 3 of security camera installation at the end of this summer in the early fall to finish up some of the exterior cameras at Ross and Sullivan with a continued implementation of our cybersecurity plan. All of that's on the plate for next school year. And the meat of our long-term planning is to look at options for long-term solutions for the district, particularly as it is tied to the full-day kindergarten and facility enhancements at Eisenhower. Part of the direction that we're seeking from the board would be to identify which of the options that are out there for us you would like administration to investigate more, to provide more information on, etc. So we've listed these in order from nothing to something. These are varying degrees of pros and cons for all of them, but the options for consideration would be to do nothing at this time, to wait for clarification on the mandate, roll a referendum forward as it was with updated pricing and scope. We could look at pursuing a referendum again, but with a reduced scope, both in terms of scale of the project, a goal of reducing construction costs, and potentially looking at different financing options to mitigate the impact on taxpayers and bring that annual cost down to try to be a better match for community support. We've discussed the possibility of leasing mobile units that would provide temporary classroom space at Eisenhower There are costs and planning needs for that as well. We've discussed the shift of our early childhood program to MacArthur that would be paired with reductions at MacArthur that would create space and staffing. And in the past, I've investigated leasing options, renovating and housing programs off-site, and potentially even partnering with other entities to provide potential space in the long term. So the goal and timeline would be for board to share and discuss, deliberate, identify 2-3 options that you would like administration to investigate further, bring back more details and specifics on at our June and August board meetings, and then we'd be looking at an August meeting for a board decision and action should the referendum in November be one of the options that you'd like to pursue. That's the foundation.
Thank you. Thoughts?
So I have a question. So, on the MacArthur side of things and cutting back there, so you're wanting to put early childhood at MacArthur?
It's the most feasible location for us to create the space needed and the matched programmatic or staffing cuts to provide funding. That would be more of a cost neutral, although we haven't investigated it fully, and that would be what, should we pursue that, we would need to figure out what other components of that option, would be necessary. Would we renovate restrooms? Would we create a secure vestibule there for early childhood? Those types of things. What are we talking about in terms of cost and programming
Would
at,
there be like
at MacArthur?
an additional playground cost for an early childhood sized too? No, they would use the.
They would likely use Patriot Park playground. Right, and then we would identify the current program. Yeah.
But if we did it more though across the district and increase class sizes across the school district, wouldn't that open up more area to Eisenhower, and maybe first grade gets pushed over to Ross, because Ross and Sullivan have greater class sizes, you would have less classes, and maybe you push some of the Ross kids down. I guess I'm thinking of more of a shuffle effect rather than just trying to pull little kids here with the big kids. It's
certainly an option that we could pursue. I mean, that's sort of where we're at now. Is we could do lots of different things. How you want us to spend our time and energy researching and identifying, pursuing options is totally at your call. That would certainly be an option. Would be to shuffle everybody up.
The only thing is if we just kind of go after MacArthur, I guess I don't know. I feel that's equitable to everyone in the district rather than everyone feeling a little bit of pain, then this building kind of feeling more pain. It's just my thinking.
Are there any P3 options, like to create a space that is multi-use that we may not own but have the ability to use, so it's got like multi-use? I don't know. When I worked at UIC, for instance, we had a P3 dorm that they opened up that obviously they got revenue from. It's a different structure, but I just had a thought about, obviously I'm not a K-12 administrator, but just was a thought if there's a property piece that could have multi-function that could potentially create a gap. I don't know.
That would be if we were to partner with another agency or another community entity and ask them to build on our property. We have the property, they could build and own the facility, but we would have reciprocal use agreement. That would be something that we could pursue.
I don't know if there's anything that people would want, but that's the Was a thought I had.
Yeah.
So I know you did partnerships on there, so just like other thoughts of me. And I don't even know, like Wheeling has their huge new admin building and how used that whole thing is. I don't, or even any of the surrounding school districts that are, you know, close
Right.
by, how cramped are they as far as early childhood or kindergarten, and could we not have some sort of, you know, a partnership with them?
Yeah, if you wanted us, so if you want us to pursue those, we would investigate that. I mean, we've had preliminary conversations about all of these things, but they all will take focused time and energy for us to actually develop it as a plan and give a specific cost and timeline and option. So we could certainly do that too. That's a possibility for us to investigate.
The other question that got brought up in one of the meetings that the community forums was like a bond versus the other term. I don't know if there's
debt certificate.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything parallel to that that's been any thought. I mean, I've got lots of feelings about it personally, but just hearing about that as a feedback.
Yeah,
I think that was on your different finance options.
Yeah, that would be looking at
different types
however
of
we
financing,
need to find.
potentially stretching it out a little bit. We would have some additional flexibility there.
So depending on how much that is, if it's for the full amount of the construction and build that we had previously planned, or if it's, let's say, $15 million, if it was a reduced ask, then we could look at some of the funding options and financing options as well as a way to minimize or reduce the impact to the taxpayer. We're not bringing anything as a solution or recommendation tonight. We need to hear from the board what you would like us to pursue and investigate.
My thought when Don and I talked initially was so that we're not having them go in 50 directions for us to come up with 3 options for them to fix.
Do we have any idea what other school districts are, especially I guess more central Southern Illinois, what they're looking to try to do or investigate?
For full day kindergarten?
Well, because right, we're all different, but I mean, if you have all these school districts that are not going to be able to, comply,
Yeah, but they're doing the same kind of investigation. They would have all the same options: referendum and build something new, partner with someone, lease and renovate, something more temporary. Those are all being discussed.
Interesting. 21 is deploying 2 of those mobile classrooms next year at.
I forget which of the schools.
Because they have just an overcrowding in that school and field. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see, but the community has been pushing back now, and they hit on one of my biggest concerns, which is how the hell are you going to secure those?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, right, you talk about like the fact that we need extra cameras, we need secure vestibules, we need to have kids
people coming through the proper channel to get into the building.
Right, and then all of a sudden you get to walk outside to go into I don't know.
Anyway, that was, it's interesting that they're doing that next year because of all the inflood of students that they've been getting.
When I was in elementary school 5 years ago, because I'm only 25.
Yes, 25. Me too.
It was great because like you got to go outside to go to class, but like the idea of that now is like, I remember having mobile classrooms when I was a kid. And
I don't remember that at all. It's so interesting. But I don't remember anything about going there.
Well, that's because you're 26.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that 1 year maybe.
It's the 1 year difference.
I mean, I think the reality is that all of the options have pros and cons. And what we would seek to do would be to take whichever paths you want us to go down and say, okay, we investigated this, here are the pros, here are the cons from our perspective. And then that would help to inform the board's decision as to where you want to go.
Was the idea for us to kind of have an opportunity to actually start discussing these things right now?
Yep.
I was thinking, I just didn't want to be presumptuous. So, a question I'd have is, maybe we knock out some before we kind of try and settle. Do we as a board think that we should even attempt to go to this next referendum with the exact same request?
I don't.
I do not.
I don't think the numbers favor that at all.
Joe,
I mean, I don't know, right, we keep getting voted down with the exact same request, but I also really hear why we need what we need, right?
Totally
Like, I
understood.
like have this like torn, like, that's what we need, like, we're not asking for more. We're not like trying to build something, not trying for the Cadillac, we're just, I don't know. I mean, I hear why we wouldn't, but, it's part of the need.
Agreed.
And then, like, right, you run into a problem where you don't get everything you need, and then in 5 years you're asking again instead of truly asking for what you need, right? Like, that's the part that I really am having a hard time with. If we don't ask for what, like.
But we've asked for
I know.
what we needed.
I know.
Right.
Several
And
times,
it was rejected.
I know. I hear that.
So either people really don't want it, or there are lots of people out there that
there's a
don't
lot
care
of gray
or
between
don't
what we asked for
understand, right.
and like inadequate. There's a whole lot of gray.
Right.
I mean, and so it's up to us to decide. But I was basically kind of, do we keep or knock off as an option exact same? Gents, what do you think?
It's what we need. I know that, but I think I don't know. I wasn't here at the first one, so I just know the stories from the second one. So that I just don't. I've spiraled on this topic as you from the retreat. I've been on all sides of thinking about this. Like I've been on everything from let's just implement full day kindergarten now and put the squeeze on, and I don't believe in that. But like, there's one part of this is let's just do it now, and what services do we have to cut to make it happen to go on full? I mean, I've thought all the way through all these things, so it's just I just don't know if it will pass.
My thinking, my area of concern with going for the exact same or more, which is not even on the table, is that we get to a point where we then have to really make cuts. And personally, I'd rather have good than terrible. So I don't know. My personal viewpoint is that we make enough of a notable step that the community goes, okay, thank you. But not so much that we like destroy the intent of the whole project.
Or the integrity of the
So
apps.
exactly. So my thought was, don't compromise on the 8 classrooms, because that truly is going to be needed. But possibly look at cutting in other areas, and we talked about opportunities for that, I think, right?
I guess that's my question: is what are the opportunities?
Well, I think that's one of the things that we want to challenge them to do.
Right.
If we leave on the table, let's go in the way it is, not much to investigate, but I mean, trying to stick with 3 options. I think I personally would think one of those options should be let's cut X amount, just or whatever the recommendation is, to provide an appropriate optic to the community that we're doing our best to hear that they don't like the dollar amount we were asking for, but still recognizing, look, we're not trying to tell you we were asking for anything inappropriate. We were asking for everything appropriate, but you know, we're decreasing it simply because the voice was heard. That's
So to me, having 2 failed referendums in a row, to me the community is saying, do something else.
Yeah.
So tighten up your belt internally, and see how that goes. And then if people are unhappy with what we decide to do to try to save money, then maybe people will come back and say, you know what, let's try it again, but whatever the changes are that need to be made to it. But I just running it again for a 3rd time to me just seems
the same.
Yeah, I think it just the history of, you know, other times we've tried this, you know, and granted, we've tried it when we didn't really put a lot of thought into it, but, you know, it's history that the community is aware of, and, you know, if we don't go back and do something thoughtful and come back to the community, they're gonna say, we told you no.
Yeah. What do you think? Do we lob off that option then? Or do we keep it? I've heard a little bit of balance, but it seemed like we were swaying towards taking the full thing off the table.
I think the other part of this, I think that's a challenge, is that to me this is more complex even than we're making it, because the timing to me is really important too, because I think that we need to really change the approach that we're taking with the community, because we are not getting, in my opinion, we are not reaching the community members that don't have kids in these schools.
Agreed.
And that we gotta change the way that we're doing that, and that we have to be more proactive with outreach. And so that our strategy itself has to change. And so setting aside,
unfortunately, we have to be careful what we can do.
Right, like we can't
Well,
do
sure.
anything.
Yes.
well, yeah, okay, yeah, obviously. Yeah.
People that come and volunteer to work on a referendum, it to me seems very parent based, which I'm sure is what's common everywhere. But I feel like they need to get other people who don't have kids or had kids or seniors. They need other people outside of parents to be going out and explaining this to people who are trying to sell it to people. Yeah. Right? Because we need more of those types to agree with what we want to do too.
Yeah, and so I think that, right, that this is kind of taking a step back and looking at our overall strategy for getting to the community, and so that, you know, that people that don't have children in the community don't only see our district, right, when we're out asking for money. And so, like, I'm less concerned about about like exactly how much we ask for, but like I don't think that we would be ready to do this in November, no matter what the ask is. I don't think that I would be agreeable to going back in November, no matter what. Like I would think that this is a 2025 or even later going back.
Man, you're butting us up against a wall if we do that, man.
We really aren't, right? Because
no, you are, because at that point we're having to meet the kindergarten requirement with like one option to get that thing passed.
So we've asked for this twice already and failed, right? So the way that the law is written now is 27, 28, and then there's 2 years of exemptions. And I think one of the possibilities from this June report is that there will be additional exemptions. So and finally, right, there's no remediation action in the law, right? Like it's not like as of right now.
There's no penalty.
Yeah, there's no penalty. Like I want to get this done as soon as we. But to me, the most important thing is that the next time we go and ask for a referendum, that we've done it right, and that we feel 100% confident in the way that we're approaching it. I don't think that there's any rush to do this in the presidential election. I think that getting a better community-based strategy and outreach is more important than the timing.
How do we do it more right? How do we go ahead and do it more right?
So I think at the community meetings, right, people that don't have kids that in the district were there were like, we didn't know anything about this, right? And so I think part of this is outreach to these communities. It's to Colony Country. It's to the it's to people that are in Old Orchard, right? Can we go? Can we go to the Old Orchard board meetings, right? Once a quarter to say, hey, here's what's going on in our district, right? And here's what we're doing for the children of this community. And because unless you change the strategy and outreach, I don't think we're going to get a different result, even if we cut it, whatever it is, 10%. And so I would be more in favor of changing our approach, being more proactive with the different parts of the community I don't think we're reaching, and then going out once we feel like we've done that, we've taken that action.
I'm in total agreement with we need to have a different approach to reach the people. I'm not sure I agree with skipping the election.
I was going to ask a question that maybe nobody has an answer to. Is that what is the difference of the presidential election outcomes versus the not? I know we talked through that when we decided the original, but in some conversations I've heard on the other end is the presidential election is a good election to go out because you do get more voters that show up.
That's the one.
There's this different voter base that comes for a presidential election. So I don't know if we have that answer.
Well, I don't think we've agreed that we want to go out for a referendum again yet. I mean, that to me is the first piece is which of these options do you want us to pursue so that you have a menu of and wait for clarification, do nothing may be one of the strategies that we can say, here's the pros and cons of that. Here's the pros and cons of a referendum with reduced scope. Here's what we think that would look like in terms of an ask. None of that requires a November action. And that's a separate conversation to which of these do you want us to pursue. Because the board may feel we're not ready for a November, or that November isn't the best time to go, or the board may feel it is the best time to go. That would be part of the information we would share with you in terms of pro and con around timing. But until we know, is that something you want us to develop around mobile units? I'm hearing no. But it's an option, and it's an option that we need to consider and then say yes or no to gather more information on it. And if it's a no right now today, pull it off the list.
Okay, then I apologize if I went down the completely wrong path here, but I guess I would be interested in seeing, and I guess one of the paths that I would be interested in, it would be starting to investigate a referendum with a reduced scope. I guess if we're kind of looking at that, I would absolutely be interested in
that's what we're
pursuing
trying to
investigation.
Get down to things that they should have. To Becky's question though, because you and I have just discussed this.
Yeah.
And my understanding as hers was that there are advantages to this specific election versus other times. But I may have.
But there's also disadvantages, right?
Well, I don't know that this is again, I don't want to muddy the waters by having that debate right now. Whether or not we choose to go in November is a discussion that you need to have in August, after we've seen the costs and we've seen what the comparisons are.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think it's challenging, at least from my position, to figure out how to pick 2 or 3 options without actually having real data and metrics behind it. We don't know what the mobile homes cost, therefore we can't really sit here and say, hey, go deeper and I'd like a general idea of what the cost is to understand which options I would choose. For me to just point blank pick 3, I'm not comfortable doing it. Probably won't give you 3 because I need more information than just general ideas. If the mobile homes are a third of the price of the referendum, that's something we have to put on the table. And there's many quality districts that have used mobile homes over the years. We have to, we have to adventure it. If it's the same cost as a referendum, not the right idea, right? Like, doesn't make sense. I also want to make mention that this board has approved to use thousands of dollars in the preparation and the design for what we went to referendum twice for. So we have to own that still. But if we're accepting of that, then I'm good with that, but like, that's a real thing this board voted on.
It is. It's a sunk cost, but it's still a
Because
cost
those
that we incurred.
are still going, the college do again, and the costs keep going up constantly for
cost,
construction.
that is another thing.
I was talking more about like
The cost to
$750,000
Right, well, yeah.
invested in this project.
So leasing, generally, you lease mobile units, so it's a short-term solution. It's intended to be a short-term solution. There is site work that has to be done, and then there's the rental of the units themselves. And then with that as an option, we would also have a need for staffing, programmatic staffing costs. So there is it's not nearly the same construction cost, but you minimally have a similar kind of limiting rate ask for staffing.
Consumables increase regardless.
And then you would have a one-time cost of the site work, and then you would have a lease option.
Furnishings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have to furnish.
Mm-hmm. Similarly, when we've looked at leasing in other facilities, it's similar process. It would be off-site, obviously. We would reach out to landowners in the area that may have space for us to ask if they're interested. Then we would have to do a site analysis. Our Archon would come in and assess what would need to be done in order to convert that space, and then would generate a cost for that plus staffing. So those are, and partnerships with other entities can range from we partner with somebody else and we build this in a shared way. You build something in a shared way, or we partner with someone else who's going to own it, build it, run it, and rent space back to us.
Are there any of these options we just would take off the table?
To me, the mobile unit thing just feels like that would be a scenario where we've kind of exhausted everything else and have an absolute need, right? That we can't house the students we need in the next school year, right? And we need to get this in place. And I just don't feel like that would be a scenario in the next
4 or 5 years.
2 to 3, 4 to 5 years.
Honestly, to me, that one would come after
another referendum failure.
My opinion, no. I was gonna say, to me, the last thing that we would do is start shifting around and using our current space and increasing class sizes and everything else. I would go with mobile units if we have money before I would start completely uprooting our entire classroom structure. You know what I mean? I think, to me, that's the last resort, is you just cut programs, you start increasing class sizes. To me, that's the last resort. But to your point, I don't like that one either, personally. We may have to do several of these things. I personally don't like the idea of uprooting any of the schools or all the schools. Even if it's increasing classroom sizes, or it's stripping out programs because we need classrooms, or it compromises the whole mission we've set for. To me, there has to be better options, like reducing the referendum ask by half or 3/4 and doing something. To me, those last two are just. I would be against it personally, but I'm one member of the board.
I agree with you, Kevin. I don't
love the idea of the mobile units. That feels, there's just so many, I don't know, I don't love that. And the idea of cutting programs, classrooms, I don't know, that, to your point, like we just celebrated all of our amazing, the amazing programs we have, right? Like, that just feels kind of yucky. Like, we bring these kids in every month and have them lead us in the pledge to celebrate the amazing things we do through our wrestling program and our, VIM and all this stuff. That then saying, well, actually, we're just going to move EC here, so we're going to get rid of some of that stuff instead. So, I don't know.
But if the community keeps voting you down,
Yeah.
they're telling you to do something else.
And that's why it's the last thing. That's I agree with you.
So
I think we should, just my take, I would personally like to see something that says we do nothing. I would love to see the pros and cons of what the impact is, because I think it helps us ultimately decide how we move forward. I think I would like to see a plan that is just bare minimum implementing full day kindergarten without any of the, although I think we all agree that there's going to be later implications for early childhood, but I think the bare minimum to implement the state mandate would be a second thing that I would be interested in seeing. And a third is a wild card. I don't know. I don't know what the other things are, but those are the top two in my head. And if somebody wants to throw out a third thing,
I liked the idea of investigating partnering with other entities. I like the idea of maybe going with a district who has more money than God and deciding to have them build and lease space from them. I like that idea of looking at, the option of possibly doing that. And then we could always then go off on our own later. But
I agree, but I don't even know that we need anybody that having them build something is a necessity versus just, is there any space out there, right? And looking for school districts
are already struggling.
Right, but school districts and park districts, right? I mean, is there space at City Hall on weekdays, right? That's unused, right? Just to kind of make sure that, and I know that you did this at the beginning, right? 3 years ago.
Yeah, but I think it's worth, right.
But other districts have gone through referendums. Other districts have gone through changes. Other government entities have gone through changes. Yep. And the community's telling us to reevaluate what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And so I think it makes sense to do to make calls, take meetings, say is there anything out there that we didn't see before, right? That potentially has some space for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Even like Hersey or Wheeling, if they ever were even Harper College over on Road.
Oh yeah.
Because Harper was where ECDEC was, right, for a long time.
Right.
Yep.
I went there for a couple classes.
Oh, I thought you said for early childhood. I wasn't quite there.
He's really young.
He's only 26, you guys.
Exactly.
So I'm appreciating the conversation. No. I mean, I think that's, like I said, we could, if we had unlimited time and unlimited resources, we could go down every single rabbit hole that there may be. I think giving us direction, we know what our summer is going to be. We're going to work on investigating and preparing and providing you the information that you might need to see, okay, here are a couple of these scenarios, and which of those, one or two or three, do you start flushing out in more detail? And then so I hear referendum again, but with a reduced scope, looking at construction costs or finance options to bring that cost down.
The cost of the community. Yeah.
The partnerships with other entities, I heard from at least a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, I would also look at like commercial real estate too. For
Yeah,
entities, like a lot of those commercial real estate will help rehab part of that on their dime, not ours. So.
Right.
All of that would be in that lumped in that category.
Okay.
Yeah, because that laser tag on Rand Road
Yeah.
is still empty.
Right.
I thought you were doing
Did they do
They
something
are.
there? Oh, I'm sorry. But there's a fair amount of retail space. So there.
Well, I
Yeah.
thought maybe
places.
taking pictures was becoming like a
There's
lot.
furniture
We're-
stores.
Oh wow. Okay, I didn't even know that.
Like,
Okay.
There,
Escape
it is
rooms?
becoming something.
What?
Escape.
Escape room.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
that's
I didn't
what I
know
heard
that.
it was becoming.
Yeah, they're working on it right now. They have it like the windows are changing.
Yeah. Sorry.
We,
No, you're
And
not.
then
we have
Doing
to
Randers
obviously
completely.
recognize zoning and parking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, yeah,
we have to.
yeah, exactly.
And then, do you want us to cost out what a shift would look like in terms of the shift of personnel and reductions is the least expensive of the options. It's the most impactful of the options, but it's the least expensive because we would be within our own
Buildings.
means. We would make a reduction in order to hire a different staff member. But there will be costs associated with relocating whomever it may be, and what that could look like or what different options might look like if we shuffle. We can pull some pros
Do we
and
want
cons.
to look at that? Do we want to look at that now?
I do.
I think it, my opinion, just mine, I think it helps us potentially with the other options. Like understanding the impact and how you share that. Like here's what we've looked at, here's what it will
So
mean.
that's not doing nothing, that's shifting. Doing nothing would be don't even follow the ordinance.
Well, or
Or
at
wait
least,
until the ordinance
at
becomes more
least-
clear.
Yeah.
yeah,
Until there's a penalty is the point.
Well, I guess that's what I meant by shifting or not doing anything.
Oh, I
Just
thought you
like,
meant
just finding a way to
nothing.
implement.
Because
it,
that is an option.
yeah. Just finding a way to implement it with what we have right now. Is,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like that's
And I guess just I don't think that we would. I guess what I would be curious to hear to see analysis of is, okay, if we change classroom sizes up X amount, here's how it would change our staffing needs. Right. So that we would kind of understand, maybe just see a couple of different scenarios, just so that we understand how big this impact will be for different kinds of scenarios. And so I don't need to see I'm moving grade 1 over here, but
Yeah.
just from a model perspective, if we change these ranges, give us a couple different scenarios, and then how would that change our headcount needs? I think that might be a good place to start there. That would give us a broad idea of how it would potentially work if it's something we have to go through long term, but it's not like detailed planning.
I suspect it's going to be a big dominant.
Well, I would think if you approached it that you'd want to cut one class at every grade level, right? And it's taking what, 20 kids and spreading them left or I don't know that it's a huge effect. I mean, I am against raising class sizes forever, but we're a little desperate. But if you just got rid of one class at each grade level, it would only be taking a few kids and reallocating a little bit. To me, I don't know if that's a huge, especially when some of ours are at the lower levels
we'd be
of our
able
range.
to. We'll be able to
anyway.
give you that.
Yeah.
What
Rather
that
than
looks like.
saying,
just
let's
may
cut
not-
by
yeah,
10, let's
it
up it
just-
by 10%, right? To do it more sort of strategic that if we cut out a class at each.
It just may not be that clean because of the
It
different
might
grade
not be.
centers, and it just might. It might not be that clean, but we should find out.
Because if you, if you had one at each grade level, that picks you up 5 classrooms at the elementary.
It just may not work. What I mean is, it may not work from putting all those kids in one area. You'd be basically putting them in different
Right, you'd
schools to make it easy, right? But you'd have to then shift everything to have a block of now K.
Well, I guess in my mind,
Which-
I would think you would pull first grade. Again, just kind of pushing it all up. So because you need more
and maybe
guys
not,
in
yeah.
our we don't have the
I'm-
money to do it.
I was just saying, it may not work out that way, but
Just-
they should do that.
There's a lot of what
The
ifs.
research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also worry about putting 3 kids extra in a classroom. All of a sudden you have other kids that it's going to feel different for. So now you're now you might have to have different kind of services with kids that you didn't have before. So there's so many what ifs.
Yeah.
We'll let you figure that one out.
Well,
That's the
and
dominant.
that's,
Yeah.
you know, we've done research on this over the years. We've done, you know, we've got ideas of mobile unit or whatever else from our investigations. We will be able to start pulling this together, and we'll share it with the board in an ongoing way throughout the summer, but we'll report back out formally at the board meetings to share more of the finalized proposals. But as we have that staffing analysis, I'll send that out. I'll just say, hey, okay, here we looked at what class size ranges. If we were to shift it to this, this is what it would result in terms of, you know, shifting staff or available staff. So we know that we don't want to rush this process by any stretch. So we want to, but this is helpful because it gives us the direction for what meetings you want us to have, who we need to go visit, you know, the conversations we need to start having, or continue to have. Because, like I said, we've had preliminary conversations with lots of folks. I just met with a bunch of folks today from Prospect Heights and Park District and Library. And so, you know, we'll continue those conversations. But that gives us direction in terms of those three to bring back so that you can make an informed decision as to what your next steps are.
Cool.
Do you think, and just because of this is a pretty weighty topic, it's already 9 o'clock, we're only on our first agenda item, we'll be here till midnight again. Should we have a July meeting to help?
We had already determined we probably can't do it.
We can't do it, okay. Just trying to find
Yeah.
more time so that every meeting.
I don't
is
think we're gonna be
not
able to do it
here.
without a July meeting this year.
And then this is just, I think it's worthwhile too, just to make, you know, you're part of that committee, right, for that working group, but just to really make sure that we're continuing to, that you're communicating, you know, to the board, the kind of the status of 2396 and how that's proceeding. Because, again, like, I wish that we were moving to full day kindergarten, you know, in the fall of 25, but we aren't. And I think that, you know, we do need to make sure that we understand, and we know that the prices are going up, but we do need to understand, when do we really need to be doing this, right? And I think that the date that we need to be doing this is actually further out maybe than I had kind of originally been thinking. And just to make sure that we all have a common understanding of kind of what the time frames are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we need further refinement, or you?
I've gotten the direction that I think I can fill up my calendar with. But it's good. It's all, I mean, this is exactly, I appreciate it because it's exactly what I was wanting to get from you all. I appreciate that leadership.
All right.
Now the challenge is to be done by 9:30.
I was just.
Not happening.
I-
Got closed session.
Yeah,
It would, if we could just be efficient, but.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we're not
Ralph's presentation is really long.
Oh, Ralph.
gonna. Yeah, it seems
Poor
so
Ralph.
long.
We all know how much Ralph
Love this.
presents in
Yeah.
public.
Nervous all
Wax poetic. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so our next presentation is by our fabulous Director of Operations, Ralph Romero. Just going to provide a brief overview of our summer construction projects.
All right, I'm going to start with an overview of projects that were complete this year and projects that will soon happen. Scarce book recycling, which will be happening in the next few weeks. This donation helps clear out no longer used materials while helping others. Incident IQ implementation, actually events implementation, is an improvement from ML schedules in that moving forward, all of our facility request programs are on the same platform, streamlining events facilities tickets and tech tickets.
Say Rock, that one where just everything is now under Incentive IQ now, and we're
Yeah.
just getting rid of the old one. Okay,
Yeah,
that's great.
and they communicate together. So if you put in an event ticket, it'll generate a work order for the custodial staff if you have chairs, tables, anything needs to be set up. And if you request tech, it'll actually generate a work order for the tech agent to set up any AV that you have. So kind of streamlines everything. Honeywell Forge revamp and graphics standardization. Honeywell's Forge program is a predictive preventative tool that collects data from HVAC equipment throughout the district and summarizes comfort level and efficiency. It highlights low performing areas continually so we can address them before they become a problem. The graphics standardization will standardize all of the building automation pages which are currently inconsistent from school to school, and it'll also upgrade the graphics from single line drawings to 2D.
Hey, does your team get training on that then?
Yeah, it's part of
Very
the
cool.
contract. We have a weekly call with Honeywell, and they go over the features and all that, and creating a dashboard for us that works for our technicians.
Oh, who all on your team works on that then?
Myself, my maintenance supervisor, and we're involving our maintenance tech now.
Okay.
So we're trying to grow him a bit and get him comfortable with HVAC.
That's great. Thanks.
Safety and security, district-wide. We had camera installation. The old Honeywell camera system was obsolete, so replacement was necessary. We went with an Avigilon system by Motorola. The cameras are currently installed at the interiors of every building and will be on the exteriors of all the buildings at the end of phase 3 after the window siding and door project.
That picture in the bottom left, like if you've been, so all the admin, when you walk into the buildings, like it's very prominent, right, in all the buildings now to kind of see the cameras, right, and to have the big screen in every office there. So I think it's a neat thing when you walk in there and see that, that the admins all have visibility, right, that everybody in the principal's office kind of has visibility into the set of cameras now, which we did not have before. I think that's a really neat thing that we walk in there to
It's
see
kind
the
of a
security.
show of force and a kind of a
Yeah.
deterrent.
Yeah.
So that's main office camera monitors. Signage, we've installed additional signage at the playgrounds, laying out some district rules. We've added a cantilever gate just to reduce foot traffic on the Ross playground during school hours. Because people used to just walk past there all the time with their dogs, and some of them weren't too friendly. They're not always friendly. Go to the next one. And then there's kind of a building overview. By building here, there's we added some fire alarm pull station covers that helps with preventing false alarms. We've had kids just kind of bump into them or they see pull, so they pull. Old Ross site on NPR. The curtain installation is complete. That happened this year. Playground repairs are ongoing. We've got some slide replacements going in tomorrow. Ross, there was an office partition installed, actually replaced and turned into a permanent wall. MacArthur had the courtyard plumbing repairs, so we had that sanitary line that was clay and was kind of dilapidated and causing clogs and backups. So that's been replaced to current PVC setup. On to this year's capital projects. We have the window siding and doors. The awarded contractor is FH Passion. We're going to have replacement of deteriorated exterior windows, siding doors on our base bid. We've included some alternates for canopy renovation and soffit replacement. We've got project fees included, window treatments, landscaping, fencing, and concrete replacement. Project budget is $2,510,000. And we have our ongoing asphalt repairs, which we do annually. We have parking lot seal coating and striping, crack filling at the Grodzki, Sullivan, and Ross sites, striping at Eisenhower, and sidewalk repairs at Ross. That includes a cost share for the path resealing with Arlington Heights Park District on the path that's behind the schools. We've opted to go with an additive for the seal coating, which includes a 3-year warranty. So the project budget is $79,750. And then for our summer maintenance work, we have worked through all the buildings. We have Betsy Ross conference room renovation, including casework removal and repainting, classroom furniture, assembly and placement. And Sullivan instructional coaches room renovation, classroom furniture there as well. Library furniture removal and relocation, and replacement of new furnishings. At MacArthur, we have tech storage room, organizational storage replacement, classroom furniture, and our annual gym floor refinishing. Grodzki, we will be assisting with the staff relocation to MacArthur since Grodzki will be under construction. We'll be paint prepping and replacing some furniture post-construction. As always, we continue with our team building, ongoing discussions to ensure alignment between facilities and programming, staff student support, and continued focus on cleaning and disinfection and ventilation. And that is it. So, questions?
Ralph, are we fully staffed for summer helpers?
We've got 6 in the queue, so
Okay.
they just have to come in for interviews, and a couple of them are return helpers, so those are easier.
So if anyone is watching at home and they have a high school or college student home that needs something to keep them busy, should they apply?
Of course. The more the merrier.
All that windows and siding, like, are you starting both schools simultaneously, or will it go to like one to the other, or will they kick off like right away after school gets out?
We're gonna start at Grodzki and then just continue on there from the schools. I think the schools will start simultaneously.
Okay.
Yeah, and wrap up around the same time.
When do they plan on being done?
The substantial completion is the first week in August. Grodzki is the last week in July. They've got 4 crews that'll be working with them simultaneously all the way down the line.
Does that impact any summer rentals or anything?
Yeah, we're shifting. Park District use will be over here. We've got ESY over at Eisenhower. So yeah, we're making some adjustments.
Okay, so like
A lot of moving pieces.
So Grodzki, Ross, Sullivan, or where are you guys moving for the summer then? Right here. The library?
My office, Michelle,
Yeah.
Carrie, and Jackie and I will be in the main office. And then Craig, Chris, Tech, Amy, Lori, Debbie, and I'll be
Library party.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Read all the books.
Right.
Exactly.
So, you know,
So Grodzki, Ross, Sullivan are pretty much just out of commission for the summer.
They will be hard hat only by like this first week in June.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
those parking lots going to be closed off?
Portions of them will. Really, their work is contained to the building, and they're going to be removing and closing the buildings up within the same process, so there won't be exposure. As they go, they'll pull windows out and replace them right away, same day. So there shouldn't be too much disruption outside of the bushes.
Yeah. The good news is we'll be able to take delivery of the windows. I think they're coming tomorrow. We've got 4 trailers coming, so they'll be situated all the way south on the property. So we're getting going.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, 4 trailers.
Like
That's
south
a
of
lot of
the playground?
All the way south, yep,
Okay.
closest to Schoenbeck, so they won't be in that bus turnaround area, they'll
Okay.
be all the way at Schoenbeck.
And they'll be stored in a tray.
Mm-hmm.
We're just happy we have them in stock.
Yeah.
That they're here ahead of time.
Yeah. And they'll start at Grodsky on the 24th of May in the basement as we're wrapping up. And then as soon as kids are out, they'll start prepping. And then as soon as teachers and offices are closed, they'll start on the other schools. So our June and July and August board meetings will likely be here. So try to get comfy. Any other questions for Rob?
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, and Amy, for all your work on that. We've got a lot of exciting things happening this summer. All right, strategic plan goals we discussed over at our workshop on the 27th as well. They're shared in the packet as well as will be shared with the community and the school scene tomorrow. Just gives us a look at where we're headed over the next year. Summer programming update was also in the packet. Drs. Soroka and Curtis provided an overview of the services to kids, the programs, our bilingual reading in the park, as well as the professional development and curriculum work that is offered to staff over the summer. Any questions on those?
I'm sorry, just
That's
you
all right.
just said John Muir Park. What's the latest on that development over there? Is it dead?
No.
Okay.
Dead. Still now for sale.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Interested?
I'm sorry, I don't even know where that is.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe.
Your price is
There's a
right.
building there. There's an empty building there.
We looked at it.
What is John Wick?
That's over by Drake and 83. Wheeling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Wheeling, just
north-
southeast of Malvern and Schoenbeck.
Okay.
When is the last time that building's actually been used?
Oh God.
It's been at least a decade, right?
It's been
Not a decade, but.
7 or 8 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That was the problem, is that it's not even refurbishable, if that's a word. It would be a total tear down and rebuild.
And the park district owns that building now, or the city?
No, it's owned by a private.
It's someone private owns
Yeah.
it.
Yep,
Oh,
they bought it from the district long time ago.
Oh, was it the person that owned the school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Johnny-
Oh,
Johnny
yeah, that's right.
Fun,
It was like
yeah.
a private
Academy,
school
yep.
for a while. That's
Still
right.
there, yep.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, ready for action items, Michelle?
Yes, I'm awake. Oh gosh, I think my action.
Becky, are you ready?
No,
No,
it got
Becky's not
mixed
ready.
up
Hold
in
on.
the signatures.
Ah, that's funny.
Oh no.
Put away page too many.
I have one. I have mine if you need one. No, it's in here.
It's in there.
It got put in the signature thing. Sorry, everybody. Oh gosh.
There it is. All right. Our first action item is the approval of the annual bill payment resolution for FY 2025.
Yeah, so we approve this on an annual basis. It allows the business office to submit bills to a board member for approval on a weekly basis. No changes from the prior years, so we continue with our rotation in alphabetical order.
I'll move to approve the annual bill payment resolution for fiscal year 2025 as presented.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Botwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis?
Yes.
Dr. Law?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Sure.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Next action item is the approval of the 24-25 NSSEO budget that was reviewed last month. Any other
Yeah,
No
nothing
additions,
really
no
more to
changes?
add, no changes since the prior, and we've reviewed that in finance as well.
What happens if we don't?
If you don't approve it, then when Carol goes to the next meeting, she votes no.
That's right.
Mhm.
Want to vote no? Whatever you guys.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the SSO budget for 2024-25.
Second.
Mrs. Babinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cardonis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. Motion carries 7-3.
Next action item is for workers' comp to transition from ICRMT to self, and a resolution to participate.
So we've talked about this again the past couple of finance meetings as well, about taking an opportunity to really look at our workers' comp. We currently have participated in the Illinois County's Risk Management Trust for the past several years. We did work on a solicitation, and the annual renewal through SELF, which is made up of only school districts, is roughly an $11,000 savings from the prior year with Illinois County. So making that recommendation to transition to the SELF pool for workers' comp.
So we're going to fund with self instead of self-funding.
Right.
Got it.
There you go.
Good job, Kate.
Okay, I'm gonna move to approve district's participation in the school employees loss on South for its workers' compensation coverage for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
Mrs. Babinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cardonis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yep.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Next.
Next action item is the renewal with Honeywell, our service agreement for 1 year.
This was discussed in both finance and buildings and sites. The 1 year renewal with Honeywell represents a savings of just over $15,000 from the prior year, largely due to the removal of the 25 cameras and the obsolete server that we had. So we've taken that off the agreement and are making the recommendation again for just a 1 year renewal with them.
The getting rid of that server. Did we buy a new server, or is it all like?
It's all web-based now with all the new cameras.
It's all cloud-based
yeah.
now, right? Yeah. Okay.
Would anyone like to read this beautifully lengthy motion?
Okay, sure. I move to approve a 1 year professional services renewal with Honeywell in the amount of $108,372.
Wonderfully stated. Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Babinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cardonis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yep. Motion carries 7-0.
Next action item is approval of a landscape design and some removal services for the first phase of landscape restoration connected to the windows and siding project.
So included in the bid document is a set aside for some landscaping, largely restoration work, knowing that they're going to come in and kill a lot of what we end up having in the ground. We thought we would take the opportunity and make sure we're thoughtful about relocating many of the perennials that we currently have, and seeing if we need to do some bush replanting and relocation as well. So we've been working with Matt Turris. He's the landscape designer who did the the landscape design in the outdoor spaces as well as in the courtyard, and so he submitted a proposal for $21,800 to remove and relocate many of our the plantings that are there, and then work on a design for moving forward once the work is complete, and we'll continue to bring that to buildings and sites for discussion as well.
How many, how many like big pieces, we're just talking about like having to do like stump grinding.
Yeah.
Like, are we pretty much? Is this pretty much everything across, kind of looking north on Ross and Sullivan?
It's really not. I mean,
No.
it's
Yeah.
not. It's really there. I mean,
We can.
they'll be touching all of those areas. We had preliminary drawings that we shared with
Yeah,
buildings
we
and
can
sites.
show you where we're at with the drawings.
It is the replacement of, we've got some trees with some real issues. The big ones, kind of in front of Sullivan, some of those, but we'll be keeping the big ones right around Grodsky. I mean, we really wanted to keep absolutely as much as we
Right.
can while taking advantage of the opportunity to.
There's a dead tree outside of the gate at Ross too.
Yep.
Is it
Yes,
getting? Is that part of
yes,
this?
it's.
I don't think it's
It's
part of
not
this.
part
it's
of this, but it
Okay.
is one that we've identified.
Yeah.
It'll have to come down, unfortunately.
Okay.
You want to help Rob and I? We're going to take it down.
I was just gonna say, I can go out there and have a lot of fun.
Who's got it?
Chopping down a tree.
Yeah.
Chopping down trees.
It's so fun.
But then, like,
I'll
how many
bring my
big?
chainsaw.
Just maybe. I'll take a
We'll
look
show
at
you
that drawing.
that.
I was just
We'll show you
curious
that.
about how
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah.
This seems like a big project for
Yeah, it is,
a
yeah.
big landscaping
Yeah.
project. Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve what matters?
So, I will move to approve landscaping design and removal work in the amount of $21,800 to Matters Landscaping Design Company.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Barwinski? Mr. Kurdanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long? Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Absolutely.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0.
The final action item is approval of the non-PHEA, non-SEIU salaries for staff and administration across the district.
Motion to approve.
I move to approve the non-PHEA SEIU salaries for the 24-25 school year as presented.
Do we have a second? Second. Second by Dr. Long. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Botwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. That takes care of it. Do we have any old business to discuss? Hearing none, moving on to new business. Looks like we have some things in new business.
Yeah, so as Spencer had shared in policy, we went through this press policy volume 114. The most significant change, as you may have heard in the news, is the new documentation around Title IX. There was some change in language, nothing substantive in terms of real changes, but it gives us some broader definitions and it makes some of the processes regarding uniform grievance, the things that folks can be perceived or that may be perceived as harassment a little bit more clear. And so because of that reauthorization of Title IX, there were a number of changes to language and legal references throughout. And then there were our typical 5-year reviews and just the others that were updated as part of the normal cycle.
I thought it was very interesting about the conviction of an infamous crime.
Infamous
I
crime,
remember
yes.
it's like, ooh, does it mean I just can't snap or what? What was this infamous crime?
Yeah, so they describe a bit
Careful,
of
we'll
what
have to.
infamous crimes are, but you would, as part of the application process, when you do your attestation, you say, yes, I live in this district, yes, I'm over 18 years old, No, I've never been convicted of an infamous
Yes, and
crime.
appeared on
Yeah.
episodes of
Okay.
God,
An
there's
infamy.
CSI.
Right.
Exactly. Did we require any additional kind of new processes or anything as a result of any of this?
I think the biggest thing that we were actually ahead of when we reviewed it is there was actually a policy update related to board awareness related to budgets that we had just passed the resolution.
Oh, that's
right. So we just reverted back to the resolution we had already passed because it was in further alignment than the press was.
Yeah.
But it was just we talked about. I said, didn't we just do this?
Yep.
So, but that would be the only significant change that we probably did proactively.
Super.
Yep.
All right, and this is the first read. Nothing.
No action. Yeah, it'll come back in consent agenda in June.
One of the things I just seen scrolling through there is Amy Zayer is still the communication contact for a couple of those. Who's
Yeah, so as we go through and we update that, when we edit the policy, when it's open, then we make all those edits and
Yeah, we talked through that in
change the
policy
titles.
too. There's
Yep.
a couple of people on there that aren't, so we
cool.
had talked through that in policy.
Coolness. All right. Does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn to executive session?
I will move to, adjourn to close session. Sorry.
All right. Second?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, I don't even know, for the purpose of, it's very good.
Yeah. Negotiations.
Yeah, thank you.
There'll be no action.
Negotiations. There will be no action after executive
Do we
session.
have a second?
Those.
Numero dos.
Mrs.
Alright,
Botwinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cardenas?
Yes.
Dr. Long?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Nordbach?
Yes.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes. And we are adjourned. 5?
Guys, eat some chocolate.
We have chocolate. What kind of chocolate?
It's sea salt caramel.
Wow.
It's so good.
Why is it in front of Don?
Because
I
I
don't
needed
know.
it away from me.
Yeah. You put it down in front of me and said, eat this. I was like, no.
Wow.